Well, good morning, and welcome to the Natural Nation Network. This is Oscar Hines. I am beyond jazzed this morning. Sitting immediately to my left is the amazing, incredible, and impeccable Miss Marlise Ledbetter. How are you, Marlise?
Thank you. Very good.
How are you doing?
I'm so happy to be here with you. I mean, this is going to be a really amazing conversation.
I agree, but you know, to have you in as co-host this morning, I know that you've had some great conversations with Nicole and everybody, and those who don't know, you have such an amazing story yourself, but you have survived some amazing things, and our guest here has some incredible stuff. But it's going to be interesting to just chat a little bit about that. So just introduce yourself again to the audience for those who do not know Marlise.
My name is Marlise Ledbetter. I live in the Woodlands. I own a consulting company called Indie Hemp Company, which is medical cannabis consulting. And then I'm also presidential founder of a CBD brand called Green Compass. And my story really is combined on a journey of self-healing and plant medicine and spirituality and energy. And I've been so blessed to meet people like Stacy and so many others that have kind of brought me to the next step of my journey. And it's never ending, and my destiny is still unknown at this point. But I'm happy to be a part of it and bring people into, you know, our ancient medicine.
Yes. Well, you know what I love, and this show is called Natural Nation for a reason. I think that if we're really going to find synergy in the world, we're going to do it through natural modalities.
Yes.
Because people attract each other.
They do.
There's vibrational energy that draws like to like.
Yes.
And that's why when I met you, I was like, you are awesome. You are smart. You are, you know, and of course I'm full of all these platitudes, but I won't say them if I don't mean them. And I was so impressed by all that you know.
Thank you.
And so I know that people that are moving around in your space is going to really provide some fascinating conversation, ergo our guest.
Yes. I mean, you kind of have to decide, like you said, to attract the right energy. And I don't think I was attracting the right energy for a really long time until I met the right people and decided this is my space.
Yes.
And then you have to continue to manifest it and work on it. And that really introduces me to Stacy, who has helped me release trauma, to really work in my subconscious and to work with body and emotion code. Will you tell us a little bit about how you got into this field?
Sure. So my story, actually, I'm just excited to be here. So thank you very much.
Yes.
You all are amazing. So this is just an amazing opportunity. However, really just want to talk a little bit about how I got into this. What's interesting with me is I am actually a registered nurse. And so I joke, I say that I came over from the dark side. And so I always wanted to help people. However, I just thought that nursing was the way to do it. And so as a second career, I actually went back to school and got my bachelor's in nursing. But once I got out into the actual hospitals and environment, I just realized I wasn't able to help people in the way that I was called to do. And what was interesting is you know, working in that environment, it was all about medications and it's all about drugs. And it was never about teaching anything about nutrition or other ways that we can naturally help ourselves. And what really kind of sparked me to get out of nursing was I got into psychiatric. So my passion was mental health and emotional health and different things like that, because I had suffered from some mental illness stuff in the past. And what I found is I started working in a psychiatric hospital. And so I worked in an acute psychiatric hospital where I literally was putting people in restraints, holding them down against their will, giving them shots of Haldol and Ativan just to knock them out and different things like that. You know, and in those types of environments, it was for safety. However, it was all about drugs. And then from there, I went to a home health position, is where I really found out what our healthcare system is really like. And, you know, when you are going to a patient's house, you know, every single day for months on end, that's when you really see what is going on in this world. And I had clients or patients that literally are on 15 to 20 different meds a day. Wow. And at that point,
these are mostly psychotropics that they're on.
Also, but then they also had, what happened was I did psychiatric and medical. So I was kind of given the complex cases. And so, you know, you start seeing what's really happening, where it's just med upon med upon med upon med, and you don't even know at that point what is going on, what symptom is a side effect, and different things like that. And so about 3 years ago, I moved to Woodlands, I moved to the Woodlands, Texas, and just decided I was no longer practicing in that environment. And I started working at a holistic wellness center, and where we did neurofeedback and all kinds of natural things and different things like that to help the body. But I am actually now an emotion code and body code practitioner, which is an energy healing technique. But how that came into my
So let's take a moment
Okay.
to define this, because
Okay.
someone listening might not know what emotion codes.
Sure.
So what
is
does that
it?
mean?
I had no
Okay.
idea at all when I met before I met Stacey.
So emotion code is an energy healing technique that was discovered by Dr. Bradley Nelson. He wrote the best-selling book, The Emotion Code. It was actually released back in 2007 and then re-released last year in 2019. He was actually a chiropractor by trade, but really had the practice of bringing God into his work. And he would pray before, before he ever was with a patient or anything like that, to actually ask for guidance. And so started actually getting download and better understanding of what was really going on with his patients. But he would actually adjust somebody, and then a day or two later, they'd come back and be like, well, doc, it's my back's out of alignment, I'm in pain again. And he got this vision and download that it was, well, maybe it's emotional. Maybe it's emotional stuff. And just through work and different things like that, he figured out that emotions actually get trapped in our energetic body, and they can cause issues with our actual physical tissue also.
Absolutely.
And so what's so beautiful about this technique is it's extremely easy. Anybody can actually learn it. You just have to have the willingness to learn. But it uses muscle testing to identify these trapped energies. Once that's identified, it's actually brought to the surface of your energetic body, and then it's released very, very quickly. You know, in the book, he teaches that we swipe over the governing meridian to release it from the energetic body. Extremely quick, extremely fast. When I work with clients, I can release anywhere between 15 to 30 plus trapped emotions and trapped negative energies, and it leaves the body right then and there.
Now, when you're identifying
Yes.
these, you're doing it thugh kinesiology.
Yes.
You're doing muscle testing
Yes.
to determine where those areas, those little fractures in their sort
Yeah.
of psychological, physiological makeup.
Yes. Yeah. Now it's very different with different people, because I also work on the physical level too, because what's so wild is you know, you can actually help with physical discomfort and different things like that. And so it's not only, you know, I usually, when I do a session with somebody, we talk a little bit about what's going on, and then we start and backtrack from there. So if I've got an emotional issue going on, I'm going to muscle test and find out what's blocking us from moving forward from that. Yeah.
So I want to just share this because it's right in line with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And for those listening right now, I'm telling you, you might be thinking, oh, this sounds a little witchy woo woo, right?
Yes.
I thought the
same thing.
I thought the
I did
same.
too.
I thought the same stuff.
sure.
But mine goes back, you know, maybe 15, 16 years ago,
Yeah.
and I am lying in this on my back, chiropractor type table. Lady comes in. She is from Wales. She's got exceptionally bad teeth, and she's very old, and
Yeah.
she kind of has this Yoda-like energy.
Yeah.
And she walks in. I'm lying on my back, and she's got, "You got a lower back problem. I'll adjust that for you." And I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, how do you know I have because I'm lying down, right?"
Yeah.
So then she comes over, and she's got big hands, and she actually was a certified craniosacral therapist that did emotional causation for the royal family.
Wow. That's
Also
neat.
aromatherapist and everything. I didn't know that I was dealing with her. I
Yeah.
just didn't,
Yeah.
you know, it was the
Yeah.
So she comes over,
Yeah.
and she has big warm hands, and she embraces my head, and then she goes, "You have a fear." And I'm like, I jumped out of airplanes. I raced motorcycles. You know, this is 20 years ago. I'm having
Right.
fun, right? And she goes, "You fear being restricted or confined." And I thought, oh my God, that's true. Because like the thought of a straitjacket like used to freak me out.
Yeah.
And I went back in my mind, I regressed to this childhood memory when I first came to this country. I'm from Costa Rica, and I got hit by a car.
Yeah.
And when I got hit by the car, I slid and I was knocked out. And what I didn't remember was that I came to when this whole thing happened, but the people had picked me up. This was back in the 60s, so they put me in their car to drive me to the hospital. I woke up and I'm looking at a strange woman's face. I'm traumatized. And in that moment, she goes, "It's okay, your mommy and daddy are behind us." And she picks me up to show me, and I'm like injured.
Right.
And of course, the pain causes me to pass back out. And when I do, that created what I came to know as an emotional cyst. Which was what was this trapped energy inside of me.
Over my right shoulder.
Oh,
that
really?
I know when I'm stressed is when it starts hurting.
Oh, wow.
And I have to work it back out.
Wow.
Emotionally and physically.
And the right side is the male side. Do you recognize the male and female chi like that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating.
Probably issues with my husband.
Wow, you see?
Most of it is.
So the right shoulder, right, is feeling a sense of a burden.
Yeah.
Or something. Okay, so oh
my gosh, no, we're not going to work on me today.
But when you think about too, like from my standpoint, is also just, these trapped emotional energies go to weaker areas of the body. And so they have a tendency to kind of gravitate and then really cause issues in those areas. And so even if you have something weak in that area, a lot of times that'll kind of push over there and then cause more issues for you too.
Which makes sense because that's where my scoliosis bend is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Stacey, energetically then, you're saying it'll move. Do you think there's a correlation of where it goes? You're saying weak as in physically weak in that area?
Physically weak. I think of more physically, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, if we have a weak area in our body, sometimes that will kind of just go to those areas. Yeah.
Wow.
And like to sit there and cause more problems.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then is there a correlation for you on what organs, what parts of the body are what emotions,
Yeah, I mean, as far as, when you look at different things like that, it's like, anger and those types of things usually kind of vibrate and generate from the liver and different organs and different things like that. But, we can also have trapped emotions where our whole body just rings with that. It gets stuck in the process and we're just kind of vibrating at that vibration.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it's sort of a misaligned vibration.
Yes.
So that's instead of health, that's the opposite of health. It just
creates imbalance. Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah.
So when you started working in talk to us about how you got into it, how you were introduced originally. I know you were working at the health practice in the Woodlands. Was there like a pinnacle moment that introduced you to the energy work?
So let's put a pin in that question.
Oh, we have to take a break.
Because we're going to take a break. So when we come back, we'd like Stacey to answer that.
Okay.
Yes.
Folks, you are listening to the Natural Nation Network here on Edge Radio TV. Be sure to connect. We are here at 415 West Gray. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here with Stacey and with Miss Marlise in just a moment.
Yay.
The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information. And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay, so
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446. Edge, because truth still matters.
All right, welcome back. We are so glad that you're here with us today. This is Edge Radio, Natural Nation, and my co-host Oscar, and our wonderful guest Stacey Ellie, who is talking to us about body and emotion code and the spiritual energies that we can work with to make ourselves healthier. Welcome to us. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
We were kind of on the precipice of moving into a new direction, and your work in energy. What was the tipping point going into this? Like, what really sparked? I mean, you had such an incredible story in psychiatric and healthcare, but what was that turning point? Like, what really sparked it?
So what really got me is, so I have a brother-in-law who gives me a book every year for Christmas, and about 4 or 5 years ago he actually gave me the Emotion Code book, and I kept trying to read it, but it sat on my shelf because I was like, I'm never going to I don't even understand this muscle testing thing, this kinesiology thing. How does it work? I'm never going to figure it out. And so it sat there, and then about 1.5 years ago I had a coworker text me and say, have you heard of the Emotion Code? And I was like, yeah, I got the book. And she's like, well, I just had a session. I had a couple sessions with a practitioner in Nashville, Tennessee. And she's like, I feel amazing. And I'm like, Nashville, Tennessee, we're in Texas. You can do it over the phone? I mean, I was like, are you kidding me? And so after that, I literally signed up with this practitioner and did a couple of sessions. And she really helped me work through, at the time, my mom passed away about 3.5 years ago, and I was her caregiver, and so that was a pretty hard process. But then a couple of months after my mom passed away, I had a falling out with my father, and to the point where we were not speaking. And we were a pretty tight-knit family, and there was just some things that he had done that just blew up our family. It just imploded our family dynamic. And him and I had not spoken, and it was literally like I had lost my parents, both of my parents, within a couple of months.
That's so traumatic too.
And it was such a hard, emotional, angry, negative thing that it was just literally eating me alive. And you know, when you have something like that happen to you, I mean, there's this physical feeling that you have, and I literally felt like that my insides were just tied up. And so she helped me work through, I say, my daddy issues, because I've had daddy issues my whole life.
Yeah.
I kind of knew it, but I didn't really know to the extent. And what was so wild is that after only like 2 sessions, it's like that ball of just was gone.
Wow.
And I couldn't even believe like how good I felt. I just felt lighter. I felt like something had been lifted from me. But also when I thought of my dad, it wasn't like in the past, when I thought of him, I literally thought I was just going to throw up.
Oh
I mean, that's really how I felt. I just felt sick when I thought of him. And it got to a point, it was so amazing after working with her that I could literally think of my father with love. I don't agree with his choices, and I don't agree with some of the things that he has done, but that's his stuff. It's not mine, right?
You're no longer responsible.
I'm no longer tied to that. And so it was just a beautiful experience.
It was very liberating. But you know what? I think parents play such a crucial role in that whatever they've said to us, we believe to be true.
Well, true, because they're adults. We have to, I mean, not this generation, but like our generation was, we sat on every bated breath of our parents, and their word was the Bible.
But I did a video on the theta state. They say from 0 to 6, a child's mind is in a semi-hypnotic state.
Yes.
They believe whatever is sort of inputted during that time.
Yeah.
And we have no control over what that is, and so what we believe to be true about ourselves can resonate for us our entire lives, and we don't even know. We're like pushing away the guy
We're conscious of where it came from.
Oh my gosh, and so the question is, now we talk energy, and Marlise, you and I've had some good conversations around this idea of energy. So energetically, when you have that vibrational space, right, with someone that you love as intimately as your dad, do you find those traits or characteristics in a spouse that you attract?
Yes.
Because that happens a lot.
I'm like, yes.
I totally feel that.
Emphatically, unequivocally.
Yes.
Well, and I'll give you an example of that with me. Okay, now I have since broken that pattern. However, my father was very neglectful with me, and very much like not affectionate. I think he told me he loved me a few times in my life after he'd been drinking, and those types of things. And he was very affectionate with me up until a certain point in my childhood, maybe about 6, 7, 8 years old time frame, and then it was nothing. And, I felt always this feeling of not good enough, those types of things. And so it's like I didn't intentionally do it with my conscious mind, but subconsciously in my relationships, I was seeking out men that were either emotionally unavailable or didn't treat me very good.
Yeah.
Because that's what you were used to.
That was was my norm. Yeah, that was my norm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's it's not an uncommon phenomenon, unfortunately, especially when you have had a parent who uses some kind of substance or substance abuse, then they really can have issues that they can cause these kids to go kind of nuts about. So a lot of women suffer from this emotionally unavailable man syndrome. I don't know. Is there?
My first husband definitely.
What's the acronym? I don't know. ARPRX. Right. But the idea though is, how do you can't fix that guy, or can you? No, you can't fix him.
You got to fix yourself.
Yeah, you got to fix yourself.
Yes.
So talk to us about that process of fixing yourself.
So, with me, it was several things. Absolutely emotion code, body code work that I did on myself. I also go to other practitioners because they can pick up on things that I can't. There is another healer that I've gone to that does Reiki and different things like that can pull stuff out that maybe I can't touch, or I don't notice, or other practitioners don't notice. But the thing with that is you have to change your mindset, right? It's like you kind of, when we have that, that syndrome, right? There's really that program running around in your subconscious mind that's telling you are not good enough, right?
And it's the thought patterns.
And we are deserving of all of God's blessings. We deserve You know, we deserve to have amazing, loving relationships, and we deserve all of the money and the wealth and all the abundance in the entire world. God wants to bless us with that, right?
Right. Absolutely.
But there, we can have, you know, these programs running around that we're not even aware of, that we're not good enough. And so it's constantly working on yourself. You know, I don't believe that anybody can just coast through life and have an amazing, beautiful life. We have to really personally be constantly growing. And for me, it was reading, it's taking care of myself, it's, you know, getting out in nature, you know, getting grounded in my faith. All of those things are so, so important, you know, and loving people and giving to people.
As part of that process, how intrinsic are affirmations to this process?
Affirmations are awesome, but for them to work, you got to believe them. Right? So what I do with a lot of my clients too is I teach a little bit about mindset too, right? So if you have, because I do have some cancer clients and different things like that, right? You go to the doctor and you get a diagnosis because they have to give you a label, and then they tell you you're going to die. You have a 20% chance of living. What does that do to your beliefs in here?
Yeah.
I have a really low chance of making it, right? I'm going to end up dying no matter what I do.
Right.
So now you got this belief, right? So how do you change it? Yes, affirmations, but it's got to be an affirmation that you believe, right? So you can't really believe everything is rainbows and unicorns when you're dealing with an illness, right? And so it's okay, what can I believe? What can I grasp onto? Right now, I am in the process of healing. I am in the process of figuring this out because I am going to figure this out. Okay, well, I can kind of believe that. Let's raise your vibration a little bit higher until we can get to the point where we start feeling good more and more and more. And then we can start with those real affirmations of I have perfect health, I am healed, all of those things.
And do you think repeating it over and over allows your body to believe it if you do practice it that way?
I mean, you do have to enforce it for sure. For me, I write it. And so with me, it's when I went through nursing school, right? The things you want to really put in that head and remember, you write it out and shoot it out to the universe, because it goes out to the universe too. So it's like, you know, me, I keep a gratitude journal, right? You know, but also affirmations every day. I am worthy, I am strong, I stand in my power. I am worthy, I'm strong, I stand in my power. I also do it in threes. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, mind, body, spirit. And that's just how I work with things. But yeah, it's enforcing that. But we have the power. We don't realize that we do, but we have the power. We create like our God does with our thoughts and with our words.
What do you...
I was going to say, if you think about the placebo effect, I mean, you're in medicine.
I was about to go this way.
Don't worry, you see, great minds,
The
right?
placebo effect works because we believe it's going to work.
The energy
But
vibration.
it can work in the positive or the negative. If the
yeah,
guy in the
true.
white coat says you got a 20% chance of living, you start freaking out.
Right.
But if that same guy says, great news, you've got an 80% chance of recovery, now all of a sudden you're like, wow, that's awesome. We're about to take another break, but you know, some of what you were saying was interesting about just your mindset. There was a doctor out of St. Joseph's. He was an oncologist, and I sat with this man, and I loved what he did. Similar to the healing code, he held people's hands. He said a prayer. He said, "You're going to be okay. You're going to wake up on the other side of this healed and ready to live the rest of your life, see your grandchildren, whatever." And people had miraculous recoveries with this guy. The same people, percentage-wise, that might have had less with someone else. So it just speaks to what you say. So, wow. So, folks, you're listening to the Natural Nation Network. We are here at Edge Radio TV. It is exciting to be able to talk with you about such a profound and life-changing subject. We're speaking with Stacy, and Marlise is here with me, just dissecting into this wonderful woman's mind, brain, and heart and spirit.
For real.
So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with this conversation about mind, body, emotion, and spirit. You're listening to Edge Radio. Back in just a moment.
our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the #1 reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
And we are back. You're listening to the Natural Nation Network here on Edge Radio TV. We're having a fascinating conversation.
It is amazing.
Oh my God.
I'm like so energized right now.
I love it. I love it. Well, see, and then you have these commercial conversations like, wait.
Right, yeah,
there's some
what's happening
There's some
behind the
great
scenes?
stuff. So let's go back to the question that you were just asking, Marlise, because it was a great question about how do you get somebody to take action when they're in this shrouded funk?
Well, a lot
Shrouded
of
funk, that's a good, that's, yeah, the shroud, okay.
It's funny because nowadays people are a lot more open to energy healing type stuff than they have been in the past.
That's true.
But, you know, we all understand, or are starting to understand, that there's an emotional component to everything. And what happens is from a holistic standpoint of healing, normal healing, we have a tendency to just put a Band-Aid on the symptom, put a Band-Aid on the symptom with, we're either going to take a med or we're going to cut it out with a surgery. Right?
Exactly.
And that's really, those are the two choices we have, right? But it's not getting to what is causing
the pill or the knife.
Yeah, the pill or the knife. And it's like, it doesn't get to what is really causing the issue, right? And so, 9 times out of 10 when I'm working with somebody, when we really start getting to the root, it is emotional stuff. And when none of us know really how to process through emotions in a healthy way. From day one, we teach our kids, if you overreact, I'm going to put you in timeout.
That's right.
And so we hold it down, we shove it down, it's not okay to cry.
Right.
It's not okay to be overly angry. It's not okay to have those types of feelings. Where does it go when you shove it all down?
Right.
It
Everywhere.
gets stuck.
There's a nuance to this, though, and I was having this conversation actually with one of my sons, who's big, 6'2", super athletic, kid, and I was saying, men and women have masculine and feminine sides. It doesn't have to do with sexuality, but it does have to do with the energy. Because as a single parent, I had to be a nurturer to my kids while I was growing up. I was an amazing dad. I was an okay mom. You know, at times they skin their knee. I'm like, get up and let's get a Band-Aid. Let's get rolling here, man. So I think actualization, self-actualization comes from this notion, this idea that we need to be very self-aware, but aware of our nurturing side, so that I could love you the way you need to be loved, and you can respect me the way I want to be respected, and we can have, you know, this synergy. So is that part of the conversation that you have with these people?
Not necessarily, but you know, we have to. But yeah, it's okay as a man to have a nurturing side, right?
Yeah,
even though we're taught that it's not.
My husband's extremely nurturing.
And,
it confuses me.
you know,
used to.
Okay. And especially men. What's interesting is you know, women are just more emotional beings, or it's okay for us to show our emotions.
Right.
But you know, a lot of my clients that I work with are men because they've got a lot of stuff that they've shoved down. And the thing with that is they don't really want to talk about it.
Is it fear of judgment with men?
I maybe, yeah.
Maybe the programming, the male programming.
I mean, it's just not cool.
Subconscious judgment,
you know?
possibly. Yeah.
It's just not cool to be emotional as a man.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, and so I have a lot of men clients that have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
That manifest in different ways. And but the cool thing about the work that I do is when I do get the opportunity to work with a man, the work that I do, you don't have to talk about it. This is not therapy. We don't have to relive it. We're just finding the energies that are blocking you from moving forward. We're releasing you from being stuck in the past so that you can move forward.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's I love that. And I think when it comes to a person's acceptance, like as you said, you know, I used to always use the bad joke, right? How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? Just one, but the light bulb has to want to change.
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I come into as a block sometimes is that people of you know, that are Christian are a lot of times question energy work. But you know, Jesus was a healer. You know, his disciples were healers.
Yeah.
And so how did they heal, right? Putting their hands on people, talking with them, and different things like that. And so, you know, with this type of work that I do, we are taught that this does not come from anywhere but from your higher power. My higher power is God. So I literally do pray. I pray, you know, in my sessions with my clients. You know, I ask them if that's okay, and then I do say a prayer and ask for guidance before I ever do any of this work, because I don't believe it comes from me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
beautiful.
I mean, I completely agree. And I think, unfortunately, when you're in a Christian Judeo paradigm, that a lot of things have been vilified, that are misunderstood.
Very much so.
You know, when you look at, quote unquote, Holy Spirit, you could also look at that as God's energy, his force.
Yes.
You talk about faith, the size of a mustard seed, etc. These are all metaphorically designed around this idea of energy and energy frequency and vibrational energy. You know, if you look at a water fountain that spews water, water's always been water. The delivery system, the mechanism has changed, and the way we will drink it, but it was always that way. So technologically we can advance, but the fundamentals, you know, really stay the same. So I just love, I'm attracted to people that are really self-aware, because then you don't get pissed off that you're in traffic. You're just like, okay, well, I'm not.
There's nothing you can do. You're just here. Here we are.
I mean, probably one of my greatest sort of epiphanies at some point after my divorce was a book that, you know, you talked about the healing code. I remember one fell off the shelf, and it was The Vortex, and it talked about practicing the law of allowing.
Yes. Yes.
This
is what we've been working on.
Abraham.
Yes.
Because we, you know, there's a book called Shadow Dance. It was just fabulous. And it said, there's an exercise. Take this onion and imagine your life is this onion, and you begin to peel it back. And the layers are what I want this to be, what I'm going to make it, what it's not, what it ought to be, what it should be, what it isn't. And as you peel that back, what's left is more and more room the tear-inducing rest of it is nothing more than a product of ego.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that because that's all this is.
Right.
Yeah.
All the posting on social media, all of it is ego. It's
Ego.
all ego.
Yeah. And people misconstrue the word ego as egotistical or self-assured, where it's really your body bag that you're constrained by. And as you can open and pull that zipper farther down and realize who you are at your core, I don't think when we say God created us in his image, I think he created us in his energy image about our ability to become enlightened and to create our self-awareness and and to create the things that we want. I don't think it was a physical image. I think it was an emotional, spiritual, and energy image. And once people get connected to that and they understand how powerful these energies are, and when we align ourselves to the right people, it's like this huge bridge and connectivity spider web starts happening, and this energy starts flowing and abundance starts happening, and then you meet the right people like we met.
Yeah.
And I don't say coincidence because it was meant to happen. I manifested to meet Stacey and to meet the people that have now become part of my life, to understand myself and my power, and to help other people create their power and their abundance in life as well. And I mean, here we are sitting talking about your business that you've created. I mean, it just is like so full circle.
I love
so
that.
full circle.
I love that. But you're spot on. You're spot on because vibrationally that attraction was there, right? And now you're manifesting together, co-creating.
Yeah.
But you know, energetically we have
chills.
that ability. Yeah.
I did. I was like,
And so that's your higher self saying that's truth. Yes.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
It's an
true.
affirmation.
God
Yeah.
bumps.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or God winks, as they
Yeah,
say.
God winks.
But if you think about it too, when we were in the religious paradigm, look what Solomon said. He was the wisest man. He said it's all vanity and a striving after the wind.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, it's the core sort of original love and what you might call agape, principled love that we should have for each other.
Yes.
And when we do that vibrationally, there's an abundance. There's enough for everybody.
Oh my
There's
gosh,
enough
yes.
for all sorts of things to manifest. But unfortunately, people are laden with this fear and this doubt. And unfortunately, that negative energy for whatever the negative forces that exist in this realm are, they feed on that.
Yes.
Right. So when you came up with your business model, tell us about how that became, and then also a little bit about your practice and the name and things like that.
Okay. Well,
Three
so
questions.
I don't know if I remember all the questions. Well, as you know, I was practicing this this energy healing work in person at this holistic wellness center that I was working at. However, this can be done remotely, and so for me, it just became a natural thing where I am just going to go out on my own and be an entrepreneur. And so. As the name of my company is called Sea Healing. It's SEA. Okay. I have an affinity for water. I have to be near water. It just brings me to life. It's straight from God, and I just have to be near it. And so Sea was kind of the name. However, also it's just sea healing, as in I see healing too, you know, when you hear it. But SEA stands for, you know, as I mentioned, I recently got divorced and decided that why do I have to take somebody else's name? Why can't I have my own?
Right.
And so I was no longer the Stacey I was when I was married, but I'm also no longer the Stacey I was, you know, the scared Stacey that didn't believe I was worthy. So I didn't want to go back to that name. So Stacey Ellie is the name I took, SE. The A stands for Ascension.
Oh,
I love it.
Because I want to lift as many people up as possible.
Yes.
I love that.
And where does Ellie come from?
Ellie is actually my mother's name. And so my mother is my best friend, and she is the one who instilled that loving light. And she still is with me every day. So, yeah.
You know, energetically, that because you bear that name, it already is an ascendance, it's an elevation. See, I love that.
I'm like getting
I love
teary.
that. You are. We don't want any mascara running. We're going to take a break. So if Marlise needs to take a little moment, folks, you're listening to Edge Radio. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with Natural Nation in just a moment.
people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
Hi, we are back here at Natural Nation on Edge Radio, and we have Stacey Ellie and, of course, my co-host Oscar Hines. We are talking about some really incredible energy work, space, and abundance. We've kind of moved on to really learn a little bit more about your practice. Your journey has been incredible, and just to hear you give yourself your name, and now you've made permission for abundance. What's the next step in your journey of your practice? And you've just started. Like, where do you see this going?
It's funny. I don't really know. I'm just going where God takes me. And I know that sounds pretty wild, but I meditate a lot, and I get a lot of message from spirit. And so one of the things that I have been told is that I need to touch as many people as possible in this time period in life, and that I'm here for a certain reason. And so, right now we are living in just a crazy world of fear, and everybody is stuck so vibrationally low.
Oh my
and
gosh,
so, right now my goal is just to help as many people to get to that point where they're really feeling better and getting past that fear, because that's really just causing so many issues with people right now. From there, I don't really know. The sky's the limit, but I'm excited. So,
Well,
yeah.
one of the things that I've heard, and I don't know, Stacey, I'm sure you this is something you advocate, but how does it manifest in your conversation with people in your practice? And that is never leave your cell phone while you. Okay.
Yeah.
So the question though is when you have somebody that you're dealing with, and they're in a place, they're stuck and they're fearful. They're not always aware of their thoughts. They're not always aware that they're being negative. They're just going through their day and like, oh, here we go, we're stuck in traffic. Oh, I got to deal with my boss. But one of the advices is just feel good. Listen to music, elevate your mood, change the way that you're viewing something. So really just try to stay in a state of positive, optimistic sort of feeling, because the feeling energy is a language of the body.
That's right.
And if the body's interpreting that you're feeling good, then the negative thoughts go away by default.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that sort of integrate into your methodology?
Well, and so I have a lot of clients dealing with that. The thing with that is it's really hard to just tell somebody you just need to be happy.
Yeah. So hard.
Right?
That's like a horse is a horse.
Oh, I was
A
told.
rose smells like a rose.
I was told that my whole life.
And so you have to, as far as changing that around, you have to dial it back down to something smaller. And what I tell people is this: what brings you joy? What do you we have a tendency to kind of just run on this treadmill. I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do that. And we never take time for ourselves. And so what I tell even like a busy mom who has little babies running around everywhere, if you got to lock yourself in a closet with that cup of coffee,
Yes.
or something, because that is your one little piece of joy, you need to do it, and you need to do it every day.
Yeah.
Because the more that you bring those little tiny pieces of joy into your life, the more that's going to turn that around to where you're going to start feeling more joyful about other things that are going on.
100%.
But along with that is when we're stuck on that spiral of those thoughts, there is a lot of there's some major spiritual warfare going on in this world right now between good and evil,
my
and Satan
gosh,
and
yes.
God, and whatever you want to call it. But with the type of work I do, you know, I'm able to muscle test. When my thoughts spiral out of control, are those thoughts mine? They're not even coming from me. And so there is some spiritual stuff at play that's really shoving thoughts in your head too, especially right now in this world. It's just messing with us.
Yeah.
And it's based around fear, because fear is a very, very tangible energy. You know, if you get a phone call, you can be happy one moment, and the minute you say, "Are you so and so? This is involving your child," or something like that, your heart plummets.
Yes.
And it's an instantaneous thing. So fear is a very, very sort of tangible energy that is all around us. And to your point, the wicked forces, whatever you want to call those, that malevolence needs that fear.
Yes.
And it's feeding on that fear, you know, just globally right now. Energetically, it's feeding on that fear because everyone's afraid.
Everyone.
So when you talk about a mission, Stacey, of increasing that vibrational energy, of getting people, that's precisely the conversation we're having now, that we have to start moving the needle on how we perceive what's happening around us.
Yes.
Some people will argue that this was sort of a manifestation of a new era, that we're breaking through the pain of labor to give birth to some new, I don't want to call it utopian society, but we've been living in a dystopia.
Yes.
And it's been happening and deepening the wounds of people and their fears for a long time.
I like to say the earth got a break.
The earth did get a break.
That's my
Animals
positive
came back
place.
out. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I do too. I believe that.
Yeah. So if that's the one good thing that we can think of, positively, you know, turning it around, changing that energy.
Yeah, but now we have to sustain it. I mean, we've got to get people thinking that there's hope beyond this time. There's a great life to live, and our children have to grow up in a world where all of them have fundamentally psychologically been changed by this.
Right.
This was a life-changing event.
Absolutely.
You know, this notion that they walk around with masks and all the stuff that they have to do now that they didn't have to worry about. And we are social creatures. We need this interaction with each other.
Yeah.
So it is a fascinating time. And so in your pursuit, you rely on spirit, which
Absolutely.
I love.
Absolutely.
You allow for that to manifest what you need it to manifest.
Yeah.
And if you were to do a single thing that would change the world, if you had that one thing that you think would just alter the trajectory of our society, what would that
That is a tough
be?
question.
That is, yes.
Hey, we're not throwing you
If
softballs
I
here,
had
Stacey.
one thing,
There, yeah.
oh my goodness.
What would that be? If you had to just boil it down to that thing, what would that be that changes everything?
We just all need to turn inwards. Stop looking around, you know, and we got to ground in our faith. And we have to work on ourselves. You know, we have a tendency to just look outside of ourselves for everything. And nothing comes from outside. It's all from within. It's with your relationship and your faith and those types of things. And it's like, quit looking around and look inside. What's going on?
Yeah.
Do I have emotional issues I need to deal with? Well, why am I living down here in fear and shame? Oh, because of all these things that happened to me when I was younger. I need to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, deal with your stuff,
Yeah.
your ish. You know?
Can you explain, and I know because we've talked about this before, about the actual chemical body response? And you had mentioned fear, and
Yes.
then when we have fear, adrenaline, our body responds to it in a chemical way.
Correct.
Can you touch a little bit on emotions and how they drive chemical responses that then become physical?
Oh,
So
that's a
for the
tough
science
question.
people watching that want to know,
I don't know if I-
We've only got 2 minutes to do it. Go.
2 minutes.
for those skeptical that
So the
this-
thing with that
chemical
is,
response.
you know, when we get down to smaller than the atom level, right? What we don't realize is we're empty. We're empty space. We're all energy, right? You know, that's the science behind it right there. You know, what is the energy that keeps us together? You are not a solid being. I'm not
No.
solid.
Correct.
This isn't solid. Looks solid. And we create the perception of everything. We don't realize that we create it. I created this reality today. You guys created it also. We co-created it together. And so the thing with that is, you know, when we have an emotional response, it creates a vibrational energy, right? and it just vibrates. But what happens is when we can't, since we don't know how to process through our emotions, that vibration just gets stuck. And where is it? It's just stuck. It's just sitting there. And then we got more that just piles on and piles on and piles on and piles on. And then we're just sitting there vibrating, causing issues in our entire body. I don't know if that's the science response. I mean,
It's stagnant energy.
Yeah. And we have to be free flowing. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I love that. I absolutely love that. So we have been talking to Stacey Ellie. It has been a real pleasure.
Amazing.
To chat with you. It felt like this hour went by super
sure
duper
did.
So fast.
So
Sure
tell folks how they connect with you.
Yes,
Tell
tell
them
them.
how we can stay engaged.
Okay. Well, I have a website. It's called Sea Healing, but it actually goes sea-healing.com. If you want to book a session with me, you can book one there. I do free consults also, where we spend time just talking about what's going on with you and actually what I can do to help you. I also can be found on Facebook. It's Sea Healing 1 at Sea Healing 1, and I'm also on Instagram. I think it's Sea_healing. But I would love to help out anybody who wants to release all of that baggage that's been bogging you down.
And I can tell you it works. I am a living proof that Stacey has worked on me and released some really amazing things that I didn't even know, again, subconsciously, what were attacking me. And it's a beautiful thing to realize that and then really engage in the process of the healing.
And what's so beautiful too is this work is done over the phone, and I actually do work with young children, babies, and animals. You wouldn't believe.
Yeah, we need to talk about my dog.
stuff that goes on with animals
Yeah.
that can be helped also. So.
Wow. I absolutely love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been an amazing conversation. Lots
Thank
of
you.
insight.
Yeah.
Lots
So
of great stuff to connect with. So
Appreciate it.
So folks, I hope you enjoyed the show today. This is the Natural Nation Network, where we find natural ways to help you to change your life. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to be back next week. I'll be back live, and we're going to be having another conversation about metaphysics and energy. So it'll be a lot of fun. So folks,